Judge Glanville asked Attorney Love, hey, pretty much Brian Still is right about that. Attorney Love, have you asked anybody about this interview from the hospital, whatever? Attorney Love is like, of course I asked for it, Judge. And they said they don't have it. If I had it, I would give it to you. I swear. So Brian Still is like, man, this is whatever. He like, whatever, this is some bull crap. So then Judge Glanville is like, listen, Attorney Love, I need you to ask them again, figure out where it's at, because we need to figure out where that's at and what's happening with this evidence. So Glanville is like, and if I find out that this interview exists somewhere and y'all didn't turn it over, he was like, no, I'm going to have to make a ruling and nobody's going to be happy. I took that to mean that's the final straw. If an interview pops up and there was a witness giving statements and y'all didn't turn it over, I'm dismissing this case. That's how I took it. Now, y'all tell me how y'all took it. I took it like Judge Glanville was saying, I'm going to be pretty much, y'all going to force my hand because this is too much at this point. You understand? That's how I took it. Now, if I took it wrong, somebody let me know. But that's how I heard it. Glanville was pretty much at the end and saying, essentially, because, you know, when a trial goes this way and it starts to become a mockery in the court, it reflects on the judge. That's why judges are sometimes so hardcore on making sure everybody stays in line in the court, because anything that goes crazy, any stuff that has to get overturned, appealed, all that stuff, it goes on him, on that judge, him or her, whatever it is. It falls on them. So it's up to him to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing as officers of the court, which would be lawyers, defense lawyers, prosecutors, bailiffs, police officers that come testify, everybody that's involved in the trial. The judge's job is to make sure everybody is following the law to the T as much as he understands it, right? So when you have people coming in and admitting to destroying evidence, when you have people coming in and there's clearly some testimony, not testimony, but clearly there's some statements that have been made that are just disappeared. Clearly when there was surveillance video that they had that just disappeared, that reflects on, yo, Judge, why aren't you throwing some of this stuff out? Why is some of this stuff being admissible in court? It reflects on them. So y'all have to let me, and listen, I just talked about this for 7-8 minutes. That was just the day where there was no witnesses. That was Thursday. They were in court from like 1:30 to like 3:30 arguing, 3:45. They argued that whole time. So then we get to Friday. This is where things, if you thought that was turned up, this is where things get out of hand. For me, from my perspective, this is where they get out of hand. And I'm going to skip the pleasantries of the intro stuff that they do. They call Adrian Bean back in to testify. He starts testifying. Adrian Bean lets us know he lost his job because of this trial.
I've been telling y'all, people constantly hit me with this, keep constantly asking me this and that and third about what's going on in 2013 or whatever. I don't remember. I don't know nothing about 2013. All I can tell you is y'all got my name on a recorder, my phone number on a recorder. These people threatening me. They calling my phone, yonder. I done lost my job. I got a lot going on behind this hill. I put all this behind me, sir. Everything that had going on with me, I put everything behind me and kept moving on about my life, sir. Your Honor, I can't continue to keep going on like this. I don't remember nothing from 2013, sir.
Moment of silence for Adrian Bean's job, real quick. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that literally they're destroying his life with this trial. First of all, it was unknown to everybody that he was snitching. Now, at this point, multiple recordings have been played of him telling. That's one. Secondly, like I said, he has been exposed as a former person that formerly shot people, a person that used to be on drugs, a person that was wrapped up in gang violence, a person that was wrapped up in robberies. All this information just from the last 2 weeks or week and a half of him testifying have been now exposed to his employer. Even with him showing up with a mask on, his name is still in it, and his employers wouldn't know who he is. They know who he is, but he has to call off of work to do this, right? So now he got fired. And he said that he was a supervisor. So he had a good job. And I think they said that he worked for the city. So he had a very good job. And so he comes in there, he lets it be known. So Brian Still is asking him questions. Brian Still is mad at him too, just like Adrian Bean is mad at Brian Still, but Brian Still is fed up with Adrian Bean as well. So he's asking him these questions, knowing it's going to frustrate him. So Brian Still asked him a few questions, and he's like, "Yo, I told you this already. Why y'all doing this to me? I lost my job. Like this is ruining me. Y'all trying to assassinate me. Y'all threatening to send me to jail and all that." Like he looked at the judge and said, "Judge, am I on trial right now? Can I?" The judge is like, "No, you're not on trial." He's like, "Can I be dismissed from this because this is ruining my life?" The judge is like, "You can't be dismissed. You have to answer the questions." But one thing I thought was interesting because Adrian Bean went on rants. Like Brian Still would ask this man a question. He would kind of answer it, or he pretty much would say, "Y'all asked me that last week," and then he would go on a rant. And I'm gonna drop some of it in here because it's like to me it's sad to watch, honestly. I'm just like, damn.
You add a little more hype when you speak with your wife and them from the jail, but you lied to them.
I remember y'all trying to assassinate me right now in 2024. That's what I remember. That's what I remember. All this going on right here on this, got me up on this stand, talking about this and that third, all this extra stuff that's going on. Your Honor, am I on trial, Your Honor?
Sir, you just have to answer the questions, unfortunately, at this point in time, okay? That's all I can tell you.
Am I on trial?
No, sir, you are not on trial. But you have been properly summoned here as a witness, and you're subject to examination until I release you.
I never consent to do none of this, sir. I ain't signed nothing. My name ain't on nothing. They come get me. Y'all don't threaten to lock me up. Hey, I got a family too. I mean, come on, y'all. I done told y'all I don't remember that from 2013. Come with these conversations. Hey, remember we was in front of the house? Conversation we had in front of the house before we went to the Kroger? Keep it 100, man. With yourself.
I can't hear you, Mr. Bean. Can you take your mask off if you wouldn't mind?
Keep it 100 with yourself, not me. We had a conversation in front of the house.
Yeah.
Before we went to the Kroger.
Yeah. You asked to go to the Kroger.
I never agreed to do none of this from the beginning. Before we even had this, what you just played.
That was really like, he really thought that he could just put this whole thing behind him and it would be over and done with and never come back up. But this is sick. Just like I said with the guy, with the Nava Flores guy, what are the chances that you are just doing some stuff randomly, somebody steals your car, I mean, they crash it, some crazy stuff happens, and you just like move on with your life. It never pops up again. You move on with your life. And then you come back 10 years later to find out that was Young Thug or that was Young Thug's friends. And now you're part of Young Thug's RICO trial. That's pretty much the same thing that happened with Adrian Bean. He's like, bro, I was done with that. Like that whole thing, the case got thrown out. I was done with that. I moved on. I'm not on drugs no more. I'm not in the streets anymore. I'm a working parent and husband now. But the thing about playing around in the streets, it's never really over unless you get convicted. And even then, it's not really over because, you got to live with a felony and they keep bothering you from there. But, it's never really over if you never got locked up for it. And that's just something that's like a harsh reality that people got to deal with. So Adrian Bean is going on rants now at this point. He is fed up. He asked the judge to be dismissed. The judge said no. He said, you got to answer these questions. Brian Still is like, so you just said that you got threatened to be locked up. Who threatened to lock you up? So he was trying to get him to pretty much say, the prosecution people threatened to lock him up or whatever. And then Bean is like, it wasn't really a threat, but it's just like they told me if I don't come testify that I'll get locked up. So that's what I mean. And then he went on another rant or whatever. And then Brian Still asked again, so who threatened to lock you up? And Judge Glanville was like, stop it. He just answered that. Move on to something else. And so he asked him some more questions about the interview from back in 2013. And then another outburst comes from Adrian Bean. And he's like, pretty much keep it real. That Kroger conversation wasn't the first time we talked. Why you not telling them about the conversation we had at my house before we went to Kroger? Keep it a bean, Adrian Bean. Keep it up. He said, keep it 100. Why you tell him about that conversation? He like, yo, he pretty much, listen, Adrian Bean was fed up. Done. When you make a man lose his job that he's been feeding his family with for, I think he said about 4 years now at this same job. And we listened to the recording from 2013, the interview he did in 2013, he said he was working 2 jobs. So this man has been grinding. He's been hustling. He's been really trying to right himself. He's been really trying to get right within himself, get right in his surroundings, make sure that he's around for his family and stuff like that. And man, it bit him. Bit him in the backside, man. It bit him in the back. And it's just cold because it's like he almost was really better off letting them punish him for not showing up. Really. Like, just hold me in contempt. Whatever you're gonna do, I'm not coming. I'm gonna be a what is it called? A no-show. I forget what the NDA. I forget what it's called. But when you pretty much don't show up, if you because everybody else don't know what you did on the recordings back in the day, but you know what you said to them people on the recordings back in the day. So if you know that that's about to come out, if you know that your background could hinder your further employment, you should have ducked. You should have ducked it. I'm not gonna lie. Ducking it would have probably given you a better outcome, because at this point you could still go to jail for perjury because they still might go after you, and you're on parole right now or probation right now still, so they could still go after you anyway, and you could have still lost you was going to lose your job either way. Once your job found out that you was involved in all this stuff, they was going to get rid of you. And if you would have got locked up for failure to appear, FTA, I say NDA, FTA, failure to appear. If you got locked up for failure to appear, you was going to get locked up either way. But it's like, bro, your name is, I don't know if your name was good anyway, but your name for sure is not good now. Your name is not good at all now. I don't know if it was anyway. I don't know if he was riding off, having people think that he held it down, did his time in prison and everything was solid and all that. But boy, nah, man, it's a wrap for that. If he had that reputation, it's a wrap on that now. You understand? So it's cold-blooded. I would say, so pretty much, man, after they did all that back and forth and Adrian Bean is like, tell him about the conversation we had at the crib. Brian Stiller's like, yeah, you asked to meet at Kroger. But I got a feeling that there was something else said there. And it's funny because Adrian Bean has been standing on this whole, I don't remember anything about the conversation. I don't remember what we talked about in 2013. 2023. I don't remember anything. But then he's like, tell him about the conversation we had at my house. Brian Still should have said, you said you don't remember any of this or something. I really don't understand what the aim is with Adrian Bean from both sides. It seems like both sides' aim is to destroy Adrian Bean. Neither one of them are trying to use his testimony to help their case. So I don't know what's going on. And yeah, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if they brought him in just say, let's just destroy this man's life and just send him back on his way. I don't know what the whole aim is here. He's not helping anybody. He's only being hurt. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, after that whole debacle of an argument back and forth, Brian Still proceeds to start playing a 2-hour interview that Adrian Bean did with Detective Quinn. Now, this is where the streets get tricky. This is where the streets get tricky. Because you know how a lot of people that play around outside in the field and all that, they love this whole show me the black and white. If it ain't in black and white, you can't accuse somebody of that. If you don't have proof, you can't accuse somebody of that. Do y'all know how many? Let me step out of this and step in. Do y'all know how many people snitch that never get put on black and white? You know how it's gonna make it to black and white? If the people take it to trial. That's how it's going to go to black and white. If it don't ever go to trial, which 90% of these cases don't go to trial, how y'all, it's not no black and white for most of the vast majority of snitches never get found out to be snitches. People realize that, right? So I really stop the black and white talk. That's not, all right, let's step back into, okay.